Hi guys, what we have here is a 42-inch John Deere LA 135 deck. Although this is a Edge Series deck, so it should apply to most of those, even the newer models with 42-inch. I saw plenty of videos online talking about how to get the deck spindles off, but none of them about the braking system specifically. So if you ever do have these braking components off, getting them back together can be quite a puzzle, even for a relatively mechanically able guy like me. It took a little while to figure it out looking at pictures, but now I have it all back together so you guys can learn from my mistake. These guys do have to be off when you're working on this. That way these things can actually be unsprung. You can start, if you look real close here, this is like a clamshell piece. There's two pieces here, this top piece and then this bottom piece. They go together, and this spring is encapsulated by that clamshell. To get this guy on, I actually started out this whole assembly. This thing was just sort of fitted loosely. This was off. This is the one I started with first. I was able to get this guy in, and remember, this part of the spring goes in first. It has kind of an angle piece that goes in and through, and it holds it there. And this spring sits on top of this metal bar, the same way this metal bar, the spring sits on top of it. And there's a little notch here, and you'll probably see that worn. So that's how you can remember that. You get that, you get it put in the notch first. This will be unsprung kind of out this way, I believe. But obviously when it's apart, it'll be unsprung. You put that guy in first, and then you can sort of loosely fit this in the hole and start to get it wound a little bit. You're going to have to tighten this up before you wind it all the way, because it's not going to work otherwise. But what I ended up doing was, this guy went in first. I left this part attached to here. This thing was loose. I managed to kind of halfway get it on, snug this guy up, get this guy snugged up. There wasn't a way that I could figure out how to get this piece on without disconnecting the nut on the end of this. So this thing was off, unsprung. See, you can put it in the hole there, get this thing fit, kind of tighten it down almost all the way, and then you can get the spring tension, put this guy through, put your nut on. I'm going to show you the motion here. I'm going to give this guy a pull, and there we go. That's the magic. You can see how it all goes together all at the same time. Oh, and this guy does not have, this is only one piece here. There's not a clamshell. It looks like there should be, but there's no bottom clamshell part to this. So this thing goes right into the bar, and I put a little lithium grease in there. There was no really, I can't find instructions on which lubricant to use, but just enough to keep this thing moving freely. I think it wasn't moving very freely before. But here you go. So this guy ended up putting in first. First thing, put that guy in there, and then the nut. It has to be all assembled, of course. Sort of loosely fitted in. This thing's not on. That way you can get it. It's probably out this way. Tighten up the spring, put this thing on, and now it's resting nice and tight against there because of the spring tension. This thing was already connected in when I did that process. This thing I snugged up a little bit. This thing, like I said, I wasn't able to figure out a way to get this spring in with this whole thing attached, so I did end up having to get my impact to get the nut off the end of that. And then I put this guy on, and we'll back it up and have a nice clear shot for everybody. Remember how this thing goes. There you go. There's the whole unit moving. One more thing, this spring here. I couldn't find a good place for it, so I kind of assumed that it just hooks around on the bottom here onto this guy. This is the orientation of this. Sometimes it could go either way, just so you've got it. This is doesn't go this way. That's the orientation. You're going to have to adjust this to adjust the tension however you want it. And of course that spring will attach to here once you get your deck all set and positioned. I hope this was helpful to everybody. I know, like I said, I've seen videos on how to put deck spindles in, but they don't talk about this braking system. Boy, once you have this apart and you have a bucket of pieces, it looks a little complicated, but as you can see, once it's all together, it looks pretty simple. Alright, hope you guys found this helpful. And if you want, you can look at here's the belt routing. Get an idea how the belt was routed there. Goes up to your power back here. All right, have a good one, guys. I hope you found this helpful. Again, this is a John Deere 42-inch deck. Thanks.